This video is in our engine opening series. I'm Grandmaster Matthew Sadler, and today we are going to have a look at a game between Komodo Dragon and Ruby Chess in the TCEC Swiss 2 competition that's going on at this moment. It's very interesting actually. The game features a significant novelty from Komodo in a sideline against a 2e6 Sicilian, popularised by the Russian grandmaster Sergei Rublevsky. And Rublevsky scored a massive plus 16 equals 11 minus 1 for a 27.49 performance in my database. So it's definitely a serious option for white. White players have tended to meet black's very reasonable looking plan that's been played in hundreds of games in very quiet fashion, but Komodo sacrifices first a pawn and then the exchange to achieve complete domination over the dark squares. And this sideline was already a dangerous white weapon, but with Komodo's help it could become a killer. And black players certainly should be aware of it too. So let's have a look at the game. It was really great. E4, C5, this is how the game went in the TCEC. In actual fact, the move order that you'll most often get is knight to F3, E6, and now C4, and then after knight C6, then knight C3. This is the most common way of getting this line. 2c4 is unusual, but not completely crazy either. But anyway, after knight f3, we get a6. That's the second most popular move. Knight f6 has also been played. A lot of games with that, but a6 is very popular. Bishop e2, knight f6, castles, queen c7, d4 takes, knight takes d4. And via various transpositions, there are still about 500 games in this position in my database. So you can see, it's a major black way of meeting this. And black's next move, bishop b4, is the most popular option for black. And black's play looks very reasonable. First of all, these moves knight c6, queen c7, that stopped the white e-pawn from moving forward to e5. And now with bishop b4, together with a knight on f6, we're going to attack this pawn on the e4. It can't move forward, so we're expecting that white will have to defend it. And, maybe we'll get some extra possibilities then afterwards. However, white has a shockingly strong way of just turning the whole position on its head. You can tell it's surprising because virtually no human players have played this way. There's certainly been nothing near approaching top level test of this variation. So knight c6, that's white's most popular reply, and d takes c6, that again is black's most popular reply. If you give Komodo and Stockfish the choice though, they all want to bail out with b takes c6. This is how both engines play with white. Queen d4, c5, queen d3, bishop b7, f3, and this is kind of tricky for black. This bishop on b4 is rather poorly placed. You don't want to exchange it off for the knight. That would give white the two bishops, and also this backward d pawn to attack. So bishop a5, rook d1, castles, bishop e3, rook b8, rook c1, bishop c6, b3, and white will just gradually transfer some pieces towards the king's side and start expanding there. It's a very nice, clear advantage for white. But that is black's best line, it seems, because after knight c6, d takes c6. Well, there have been a number of strong players who've played this with white, but they've all played quite quietly. Bishop e3 has been one move. Queen c2, queen b3 have all been played. But Komodo's choice is way more interesting. That is the move f4. Now, what is f4 aiming for? f4 is simply aiming to activate this pawn on e4 to bring it to e5. And if we play the pawn to e5, we attack the knight, it has to move, we get the knight round to e4, aiming for an outpost on d6, and this bishop on b4 is, hitting thin air. Basically, if we get an e4 to e5, black's development doesn't make any sense at all. Now, the normal way that you deal with this advance f4 is you play e5. and that halts this pawn on e4, and also sort of shows white that there are a lot of weak dark squares around this e4 pawn, for example d4. The problem is that in this position, black's control over the central dark squares is too feeble, and this just does not work. So f takes e5. Yeah, knight d7 is an idea to try and recapture with a knight on e5, but then we just go e6 takes. Black king can't castle, and either bishop e3 or the move e5 followed by knight e4 is awesomely strong for white. Really very strong indeed. So queen takes e5, and then we go bishop f4. Yeah, I mean, quite a few lines here. I mean, queen c5 check, we go king h1, and we're just threatening e5 and knight e4. If you take, and go castles, I've just got bishop d6. This is the big idea and the big problem. I mean, Stockfish's main line is to play queen e7 in this position. We go e5, takes, knight e4, bishop f3, and you'd love to play knight c5 just to try and bring the knight round to a gorgeous blockading square on e6, but we just go e6 here. And then we're just threatening bishop d6. It's I mean, black just simply does not have enough time to get any sort of control. Certainly not to blockade on the dark squares, and trying to establish yourself on the light squares doesn't seem to work either. So if you can't play this move e5, it's really rather scary. I mean, I think maybe the best that black has got is to go play the move just castles kingside, but after e5, knight d7, knight e4, followed by bishop to e3. This is a really good result from white from the opening. Lovely outpost on d6. The knight's been chased away from the king side, so some attacking chances, you know, queen c2, knight g5, and where is black's counterplay? You know, that there is none really. So yeah, I mean, I think this is black's best option, but it really shows that black has lost the opening battle. So what did Ruby Chess do? Ruby Chess, pretty much like Komodo and Stockfish, decided that there was just one fighting answer to white's plan, and that's to play, not castles, but to play queen b6 check. The idea is that after king h1, we go bishop takes c3, takes, and knight takes e4, and this is a really fighting answer to try and justify black's play. Take the e4 pawn, and you're threatening knight f2 check, so you're hoping that that'll keep white at bay, you know, stop white from exploiting these weak and dark squares and the black king in the centre until black's managed to complete the development. But I think now the key point of white's play, and probably the reason why this hasn't been played in human chess, because you need to really see this follow-up to justify it. The move bishop f3. You know, engines nowadays, they don't care about material loss. They're willing to give up pawns exchanges at the drop of a hat. And this is a very unpleasant idea here. Now, Komodo and Stockfish, they sort of hit the brakes here and played the move knight f6. And then we're getting this sort of position. Queen d6, takes, and now knight g8. You have to be an engine to do this. G4, knight h6, rook b1, and now this gorgeous move f5. And this was turning out to be sort of vaguely tenable for black, but extremely unpleasant. You know, I mean, yeah, what can you say? I mean, I can't develop my bishop on c8. This rook's paralysed. King and rook are paralysed. But somehow, you know, after h3, a5, king g2, a4, fg, king f7, somehow Komodo just sort of, Stockfish just managed to stay still and hold it. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I hate it for black. You know, I don't even want to look at it, to be honest. But it could well be that, you know, objectively there are, you know, some chances here to hold the draw. Knight f2 was what Ruby played, and yeah, I mean, now really, I mean, I was running engine matches between Stockfish and Komodo on 94 threads, so that's you know, a hell of a machine, really. You know, getting towards the TCEC machine, and you know, white was winning. I'd say 8 out of 10 games. So I think this is really more or less gone. I think. bishop a3. So the black king is unable to castle, and well, I mean, you know, black is the exchange and a pawn up here, but unable to castle. None of its pieces, apart from this hyperactive queen, have got any scope, and yeah, they're not going to get any either. You know, the light squared bishop hemmed in by the pawns, the rooks without open files. And what white's going to do? White's going to first of all create some loosening in black's pawn structure by attacking unprotected stuff with the queen. Then use the pawns to further loosen everything, and then sort of squeeze through all the open diagonals that it's created. Well, you can have a look to see how that happened in practice. Rook b1, queen d8, queen e1, queen c7, queen g3, hitting the undefended pawn on g7. And after f6, we've got this lovely move, bishop d6, that Komodo played. Queen d6, queen takes g7, followed by bishop h5 check, is horrific for black. So black can't actually take that one. Black has to play queen f7. And now bishop e4. G6 and C5, and I mean, there really is, you know, a complete bind here. Now, how should you defend? Yeah, queen G8, queen F3, king F7, G4, and well, it's what we said. You know, I mean, we've loosened up the structure with the queen. Now we're going to start using the pawns to create some more weaknesses. And well, the way that Stockfish and Komodo defended with black was they played h5, g5, f5, and then just tried to stay in this position, you know, just wait basically, and wait for white to come in. And well, it took varied amounts of time. In one case it took Stockfish 214 moves, but in the end white always got through. Well, you know, an engine could defend this for some time. A human would collapse pretty much immediately, I would think. What Ruby didn't want to play the move f5, so it tried to keep stuff together, but this did not turn out well. Queen h6, rook e7, desperately offering the exchange back, but white just comes in nicely. Bishop points towards the king, and now we play f5 and attack this e6 pawn. And well, after takes, queen f7, queen e7, rook d6, and fe, white was in complete control here, and got all the material back, and just overwhelming position. Bishop on c8, just completely trapped behind this huge pawn on e6. Queen f7 coming in from white as well. And well, Komodo won very, very easily there. So that was the idea. Just a really big novelty, this f4. I think, you know, Komodo really demonstrating the whole concept f4 together with bishop f3, further exchange sacrifice, and well, it basically looks unplayable for black. And considering how many strong players as black have played this line, bishop b4, and recaptured with the d pawn on c6 after knight takes c6, well, reasonable chances, I think, for you to get this in your own games. And yeah, terribly surprised an unknowing black player. So very, very interesting play from Komodo there. So there we are. Hope you enjoyed that. If you liked the video, please give me a like. Subscribe to the channel to receive more videos like this. Have a look at the sample pages of my new book, The Silicon Road to Chess Improvement, packed full of great engine stuff, including lots and lots of stuff on how to train with engines. And otherwise, thanks very much for watching, and see you hopefully for the next video.